Hello and welcome back to the Weekly Woo from April 20th to 26th, 2026. And what a high impact week we have. This is crazy, it's weird, it's different, it's the eye-opener, the great awakener, revolutionary energy, and anything can and will happen completely out of the blue. All right. And so the big highlight of this week is Uranus is going to leave Taurus full-time and enter into the sign of Gemini full-time. So it literally has just completed its 7-year circuit in Taurus, which it doesn't like to be in. We are currently in that 29th anaretic crazy degree. And it will be entering into Gemini on April 25th, and it will be in Gemini full-time for the next 7 years. So the next cycle and the next revolution with Uranus in the next sign will begin on the 25th. Is that a big thing? Absolutely. Okay. Okay, so first of all, we are going to begin our reading like we always do, and I will just go through the planetary shifts as they come on the calendar. So the 20th, there is nothing, but we do have two major conjunctions, okay? So we will jump over to April 24th, and this is when Venus enters the sign of Gemini, okay? On April 25th, we will have Uranus entering into Gemini for the next 7 years, and that is a big thing, just as I described. And on April 26th, we will have Pallas Athena entering into Aries, which will be adding more ginormous Aries energy. And again, that will basically we'll have 7 placements in Aries, which is huge, huge, huge. And I really don't know when the last time, if ever, this much planetary energy has been focused on the Aries or hanging around in the Aries energy. So again, this is kind of a week where it's going to be the sovereignty energy, if we look at it on a global scale. It's the fire starter energy. It can be full of ambition, willpower, but it can be full of anger, resentment, violence, anything to do with being angry and war-torn, okay? So as lovely and as ambitious Aries energy can be, it can also be the flip side where it's angry, war-torn, violence-oriented, okay? So just something to be said about that. All right. So the highlights of this week, like I said, and as far as aspects goes, we have quite a few conjunctions and major conjunctions going on with major outer planets and one personal planet. So we will have the conjunctions, which is going to be on April 20th, which is going to be Mercury conjunct Saturn. That is a more malefic, serious combination. The same day, April 20th, we will have Mercury conjunct Mars. That, again, is, hovering around the second malefic planet, Mars. It means business. Saturn means business, and so does Mars. Okay, so those are very, very, very highlighted conjunction energy. And remember, conjunction energy is the highest, most charged, fused aspect on the astrology charts, which can either swing either way, good or negative, positive or negative. We will jump over to April 23rd, and we will have Venus conjunct Uranus. So this one's going to be like a crazy horse thing. So anything we have it mixing with Uranus at the 29th degree, and at that particular time, it's going to be 53 minutes. And again, that conjunction can swing either way, but we're now, because it's sitting at that 29th anaretic degree, that means it's chaotic, it's erratic, it's crazy, it's weird. And when it's at that 29th degree, the anaretic degree, it usually displays or shows itself in the negative value first before it ever straightens out to the positive and planes out, okay? So that is very, very, very disruptive energy. And we, on the 25th of April, will have Sun square Pluto. Okay, now this is a serious guy. Anytime we have a Pluto square with anything, Pluto is that dwarf pit bull planet. And this one means business. And so this can really be a complete explosion. So it can have that Plutonian energy about it. And it can be about harsh truths, reality checks. It peels down to that core of truth. So we could certainly be looking at this week of many, many truths surfacing through the floorboards that have been hidden for quite some time. Again, this can be a combination of very serious power control issues. Now that can be personal, but we will definitely see this playing out on a global stage, especially in the political world. So apply that accordingly wherever you're listening from, I should say, on this recording. But anyway, Pluto is it's a very serious, a very, very, very serious planet involved, especially when it's in a square. So really, it's kind of where it's very, very upheavalish. It's very explosive, and it usually brings about change. So it usually, like, often this can be referred to as the dismantling planet. So it's, the demolition crew and the cleanup crew, essentially. Power control. It's also about self-empowerment as well. Again, a very serious planet. So we have conjunctions which are off the chart energy. We have it mixed with a very, very serious square. We have squares that's usually conflict problems that can be inner conflict to external conflict. But it's very, very serious on a serious value or a serious area or circumstance. And again, our second square is going to be Mercury square Jupiter, which isn't so serious. Jupiter tends to be the benefic planet. So, I mean, that can be an overload of just communication coming in, going out. That's off the wall. You just can't keep up with it. Or it can be mental strain or mental or emotional overload. Just thinking about it, mind playing tricks on you, overthinking things to the limit, stress, anxiety, staying awake. Like it's would be more a mental strain than anything on the brain. Okay, so keep that in mind. So that's kind of the energy we're looking at. She's super, super, supercharged, and it's kind of blow the lid off the slow cooker pot, or blow the lid off the pressure cooker pot, I should say, is another expression. So again, this is week. If it was disruptive and crazy the last couple weeks or last week, this is going to be the finality, the continuation, and again, an amped up version of last week. And anytime we have, like I said, when we're at that 29th, 59th minute, 29 degree, 56, 59 minute degree of Uranus, that real tail end of Uranus in Taurus, getting ready to change into Gemini, that's a big thing. So again, this can be shock, it can be surprise, things changing at the drop of a hat. Very explosive. Often we will see, unfortunately, tragedies unfold during these particular time zones. Looking at a few, events going back, you can see where it's just, chaos, or it's that ticking time bomb before something happens, right? So that being said, that's the kind of week we're in for. So something else this week, not only is it supercharged, it doesn't matter which direction you look, she's going to be off the wall, off the scales. But our plans are going to be changing all week long. So chances are you're going to have multiple changes in a day. So just do mentally prepare for that. So if you kind of have a heads up, you're really not caught too off guard. But there's going to be some things that just come in from out of the blue that you just did not see coming, and you just were not expecting that. Again, I think I said this last week, but this is a kind of week where it's going to be almost jaw-dropping. And it's going to be like, you know what? I just did not see that coming, or I just was not expecting that, or I just cannot believe that happened. Okay. Or a harsh reality truth will come out. And again, it's just jaw dropping. Okay. So that's kind of the energy we're looking at. So we are still kind of in the tail end of our post shadow period for our eclipse season. So, but that will be faded away by about May 3rd. And we are still all planets direct, which is quite lovely. So even though we have that chaotic, high frequency, kind of high pitched, supercharged week, this is really, really, really good liftoff energy. So for projects or hobbies or those side hustle things or anything you're wanting to get going. So, whether that be, registering corporations or registering businesses or buying large ticket items, all planets direct is the green light for go. Do it now. Okay. So it's supercharged week. It can be supercharged exceptionally good, or it can be supercharged and go exceptionally very, very sideways, or it can be a combination of both. Why do I say that? Because we do have some very serious squares involved here. We do have conjunction energy that can be really good, or it can be actually very, very sideways as well. So it will really depend on what you have going on in life as situations or circumstances or whoever you're involved with. But if it's not so, if it's not so severe of energy or so super pitch charged in your life, we can actually sit back and watch and see on a global scale in observation mode how this energy impacts on a global level. So I always think that's very cool to sit and watch that. Okay. So that being said, again, we're sitting with a stellium energy of Aries. We have 6 placements right now. On the 26th, it will load up to 7. And so, again, that topic of sovereignty, we're going to see that implemented, and she's going to blow sky high, and there's going to be kind of basic full forces ahead with that kind of energy all the way along, right? So that is something, and especially when it's mixing with that unexpected, unstable, unpredictable energy with Uranus at the 29th degree. That's quite a sparky, explosive combination, okay? And again, when we see this, that can be, unfortunately, it can be unexpected, like war-torn areas or war breaking out, or it can be very, very serious, tragic events unfolding, or tragedies just happening wherever at the drop of a hat. It's or extreme violence is something else that can be involved. So my best advice for this week is just steady as she goes. It is not a good week to make life-altering decisions because it's such unstable energy. One of the ways I would explain this, and I sent this out earlier, is do not make any life-altering decisions or life-changing decisions this week, or probably not even to next week, because it's so unstable. You really don't know what you're working with, and you really don't have the ability to see things clearly, because it can be here today, gone in an hour, or something change in an hour, and all of a sudden it totally changes everything. So the example I used would be like, if somebody or something cheeses you off at work, and you handed in your resignation, you quit, you walked off the job because of something or somebody. Well, by Friday, Saturday, all of a sudden the problem or the person who was irritating, or the conflict was surrounded, could probably be fired, and therefore you quit your job, the problem was fired, so therefore it kind of rectified itself, but you didn't give it a chance to unfold. So it's a good idea to stay in observation mode right now, just see where things are sitting, see what's going to happen, see what's going to take place. Kind of when everything explodes, you need to sit down and see where all the particles settle permanently before you can actually move forward in a solid footing fashion, if that should make sense. So something like that. Again, observation mode's best. And the second thing I would recommend is definitely stay in a positive, very level-headed, focused view or reasoning point. And remember, you want to make the most of, even though it's a crazy kind of chaotic week with very supercharged energy, there's got a lot of good to be gained and a lot of ground to be gained with it, but only if you're focused on the positive. If you're going to focus onto the negative and you're going to engage in conflict or fights, really, it's a super, super way to blow good energy, and it becomes a wasted time, wasted energy, and chances are it's going to run you into trouble if you do that. So again, be very grounded, stay very, very level-headed, do purge and clear and cleanse and delete any and all negative, heavy energy that is around you. Get rid of that and do it as often as you need to do it this week. So, whether it be listening to good music or doing something that you enjoy, going for a walk out in nature, do keep good company this week. Good positive company. You do not want to be around draining, negative people. Nobody needs that. Well, ever, but especially not this week. So, and you can also burn sage, but sage wisely if you're going to do that. Sage carefully if you're going to do that. Palo Santo, sage, singing bowls, like I said, music, reading a good book, decompressing as much and as often as you need. And you want to keep the stress down and keep the mental overload to a minimum, okay? Keep the anxiety at bay. Okay, so do whatever suits. That's kind of a calming technique that's different for everybody, but it's definitely good practice. Okay, so with that being said, okay, again, this can be very, very, well, not can be, it will be. It will be shedding a light on probably global leaders, and it's definitely going to be political involving politics on a world or global stage, because we have Uranus rules at 11th house, and politics falls in that 11th house, and we have crazy on board, we have crazy on stage, and again, it's that everything and anything can happen. And so it's kind of like, everybody's probably going to be in awe this week. All right. So I think that's all I want to talk about there. So I will we will talk about some of the areas that are going to be covered this week. So again, this can be really innovation and technology linked. Okay, so and now something else I do want to mention, since I'm talking about that anyway, this can really interfere or hover around the subject or topic matter of internet. So it's going to be either internet problems that are going to be fixed on a permanent level, or it can be internet that's crazy off the wall. It's not working. You're having problems with it. This can actually be internet, not only connective problems, but we could have cyber security problems, breaching security, anything to do with internet that would be considered like problematic, or people being hacked, or lots of security breaches with any sort of internet connection. That is a possibility, again, because at that crazy 29th degree Uranus and Taurus. Okay, so this will definitely hover around the area of politics. This is also the air travel house. Something else I do want to talk about is when we're talking about Uranus in that 11th house, and it's an air house, this can involve unexpected events going on with airplanes, aircrafts, flights. So, the possibility of crashes or very serious problems with the technology or communication devices within airplanes or jetliners, whatever. Okay, so and we can be talking about air travel. Okay, so this is also about inventions. This will hover around like minds, friends circles. Okay, your place in the group. This could possibly be involving dating, acquaintances, and again, social media and internet, anything, internet-based projects or social media platforms that you might be listening to, or you might even be thinking about going on to make yourself a social media platform, those kind of things. This is about large groups, large organizations, or communities, community-based areas, humanitarian effects. So a lot of this we can see for humanitarian effects, help, aid, those kind of things. But we can also see large group organizations such as, groups or large associations pushing in that direction of sovereignty, okay? Again, this can include digital currency, those kind of things. Pennies from heaven. The good thing about this one is that pennies from heaven, hopes, wishes, and dreams come true. So that's kind of the good thing about this particular thing. But and again, just because Uranus is at the 29th anaretic crazy off the wall degree, it's not always dealing out a bad hand, but for the most part it does display itself, show its face in a negative value before it becomes positive. But remember, there is always that small chance or a small time or rare time zone or energy where it can be really, really good, right? Some really out of the blue, unexpected things can show up on the doorstep, opportunities like, a money win or somebody giving you money or inheriting something or, an asset being given to you or something like that. So that is not always crazy bad, but for the most part, it does show up in the negative value, okay? So this will hover around your job, how you make your money, where you make your money, your finances, expenses, budgeting. This can include major purchases, okay, and your income, like your taxable income or your work income, and maybe savings, looking at a savings, building a savings. And this can also hover around the earth and the environment. And building security, this also hovers around, this is like the money and possessions house, right? But this also hovers around our values, our value structures, and our value systems. So again, upgrading our value systems, like, I put up with something or somebody way too long, and all of a sudden, I've had enough. You hit the point of no return. You do a redo, a renegotiation. You give yourself that self-talk, I'm not putting up with this or that anymore. You upgrade your value systems, and usually, therefore, this equation called life improves greatly, right? You'll always get what you put up with or tolerate, right? This can hover around valuables, assets, and again, like I said, possessions. All right. This can also hover around the physical body. So, this can be diet, exercise, health, healing, wellness, illness, your self-image, your weight. You might be losing weight, or you might be building body mass, like muscle mass. This is really hovered around the physical body, the physique, the muscles within the body. So apply that accordingly, if at all, and how you're recognized, and really hovering around your appearance. Okay. And this really hovers around the head, face areas, internal, external. So that could be, internal, like, in behind the eyes, the nasal cavities, the brain, anywhere. and it can, hover around the external. So we're talking about the face, the facial skin, the hair color, haircut, anything to do with that. So again, and I will say, do be careful when it comes to the head area for head traumas. Again, that could be very, very accident prone. So another thing with the Uranus at the 29th degree is very, very accident prone. So do watch where you're walking, where you're crossing the road, turning in traffic. Watch not only for yourself but others. So it's very accident prone. So do look twice, maybe 3 times. So do be careful there. And again, be very, very careful with accidents to the head. So that can be unexpected head traumas, unexpected head accidents, unexpected hits to the head. So just some ideas that you want to be careful, because it's a very unpredictable week. It's a very unstable week, and it's unexpected things taking place, okay? And again, we will be hovering around. We have a very, very active Mercury. So this is something else I do want to talk about. So every time I see like a heavily aspected Mercury during a week, it means it's heavy, heavy, heavy duty communications, incoming, outgoing. So that can be lots of phone calls. It can be lots of text messages, people dropping in to chit chat, meeting somebody on the road, word of mouth, like I said, those kind of things. It can be, letter mail, registered mail, any form of communication you can think of, emails. So it's going to be very ramped up, very busy. So do prioritize your communications coming in, because it's probably going to be a week where you feel you can't keep up. So if you can't keep up, prioritize all the communications incoming and outgoing. So look after the essentials, the necessity, and whatever can wait, throw it in the back seat for now. But it is one of those weeks where it's very, 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 very busy communication oriented. Okay. All right. So there probably will be communications among relatives. So this tends to be the siblings. Okay. The siblings are relatives, aunts, uncles, cousins. Okay. Communication devices. Okay. So we're talking computers, laptops, iPhones, iPods, iPads, any sort of interpersonal communication device. And if you're thinking about purchasing one, now is a great time to purchase, because we are all planets direct. So that is the perfect time to buy communication devices. You couldn't actually get it any better than that. Transportation. So when we're talking about transportation, that's mobility or any modes of transportation, physical. So that can be anywhere from cars and trucks to quads, side-by-sides, wheelchairs, scooters, anything under the sun that you would consider transportation or mobility based. So this will include writing and editing. So that's going to be very highlighted this week, something I'm working on. Again, short trips. So that short trips here, that's to the post office, that's to the bank, that's to the neighboring community for whatever. That's very highlighted. And again, we have the social media and internet-based anything very, very highlighted. So that's not once, that's twice over. So that can be very, very in focus for you. And when I say internet projects, so that could be internet projects or internet-based businesses, very, very busy. So that could be maybe business or taking courses online. That's also included. This is also an air house. So when we're talking about that, not only is that communication-based, but it can be air travel-based. So now we have both houses lit up. So we have all 3 of them. But the last one I talked about was house 11, and this is house 3. So that you can be talking about travel, air travel, or, travel plans, something like that. Okay, and again, we actually have all 3 of the health houses lit up. We have all 3 of the air houses lit up. So remember, the health houses are house 1, 6, and 8. Okay, and so we have health, again, healing, wellness, healing illness. And so this is going to be about your daily routines, your daily regimens, and creating systems or organization of systems that work. Okay, and so this can also be about your work, your job skill, doing things that are very important to you. And it's all about the details. So we're tweaking the details to make things work in perfect unison to improve health areas, or just being super organized, right? We can always organize it better to make it more efficient. And this can include employees, employer with employees, or employees as a whole. Again, diet, exercise, health focus. And so there is this, the 6th house is a karma house. So we could be clearing karma or karmic cycles that need to be dealt with and put to rest. But this also includes slavery or enslavement, or that little bit of a stroke of bad luck in this house. So when I say slavery, that can be enslaved or feeling slavery because you're in a job because you have to be there to pay the loan or the debt load. Or that can be a feeling enslaved in a relationship due to maybe an abusive relationship, or a relationship you don't want to be in, but you're there because of whatever, but you're feeling enslaved about it, or feeling like a slave within it. That's possible. All right. Our seventh house is lit up. That is our third air house. So the air houses are 3, 7, and 11. Again, air house oriented travel plans, talking about traveling, anything to do with air travel. And this can just be communications about, or talking about traveling somewhere. So this happens to be about the relationships and partnerships house. Okay, so practitioners, helpers, this can be aesthetics and design as well, agreements and contracts. This usually includes clients, customers, customer relations, public relations. This can include customer service as well. And this, on a bigger, more personal scale, can always include your relationship with self. So again, our value systems we're going to be taking a look at that, and you're going to be reevaluating your relationship with self and upgrading your value systems or your personal values, right? Your value structures. And we can always use a little work there on a personal level. Okay, and so now we're going to move into house 8. This is our third health house. And so this is about our subconscious house, our emotional house, our mental health house. This is also the house of surgeries or hidden procedures. Okay, so when this house gets lit up, this can often be about post-surgery, pre-surgery dates, booking surgeries, talking about surgeries. Anything to do with surgical procedures often will fall in this house. And this can also include the house of cancer. So when I talk about cancer, I mean cancer in the body as the disease of cancer. So that can be anywhere in the anatomy. That covers this area as well. Something else it can cover is hidden procedures. So you might be having, a procedure done that nobody knows about, and it's no one else's business anyway. But hidden procedures falls in this house as well, as does miscarriages and abortions fall in this house as well. Okay, it's the house of death and transformation. So we might be talking about death, certain physical death. So when we have the 8th house and Pluto square going on, remember Pluto and Scorpio both rule that 8th house. So we might be talking about physical death. So we might encounter someone physically dying on a lower percentage, like, maybe 1 or 2%, but that happens as part of life. So that will definitely fit for somebody out there. Or we might be talking about the death of a recent loved one. So that can be very, very common here as well. Okay, so the topic of death, and so, physical or figurative. So more often than not, it tends to be a figurative death. The end of a job, or I quit a job, or something happens, or the stripping of a title, or the power is taken away from somebody, or whatever. So there's that as well. So, but the 8th house is the house of death and transformation. So it can include other people's money, so tax monies, tax-based money, investments. And this can be about spousal, joint bank accounts, spousal support, anything to do in a combination of money or finances to do with a couple. Loans, taxes, legacy. This can be your credit report, or credit score. Collaboration. And again, this is the debt in the loans house as well. This is a big money house. The 8th house is big money, and usually it's big debt load, but usually it's other people's money. So this is also the house of intimacy, sex, and marriage. So this is the more intimate relationship house, power and control house. It's about psychology, parapsychology. This can include mysteries, esoteric, mystical, occult, mysticism, study, those kind of things. Again, this can include insurance as well. Not only investments, but insurance. So insurance policies, maybe you're going to buy an insurance policy or an insurance policy payout. This hovers around estate, funerals, and wills. So you might be looking after an estate, dealing with an estate, maybe creating or doing a will or upgrading a will. Anything to do with funeral planning, any way, shape. That could even be making pre-arrangements or whatever, but it could be anywhere from making funeral arrangements to headstone areas. And this is also a water house. So anytime we have a water house, the water houses are 4, 8, and 12. And anytime we see the water house, they're always dark. You cannot see into them. You don't know what's going on because out of sight, out of mind. I like to talk about the water houses as the surface of a lake. You can see everything on top of the lake, but you can see absolutely nothing below. Anytime we have a water house, it's always about emotions or emotional waters. Usually psychology houses, okay? And I think that's all I want to talk about for this one. This also does, not only is the big money house, this is the lotto house. When we're talking big money, that can also include lotto winnings. Okay, and something else we have coming up here. This is going to be a big theme this week. This can be your title, how you're known. So this can include your status or your title, married, single, or divorced. So that might be an area you might be looking at. This has to do with your business. If you're in a business, you own a business, working within a business, your work, your job, anything to do with career. This can also be, business management of your time. This can include father figures, or dads. But the biggest thing this week, I think, is going to have to do with authority figures. Leadership roles in the world. So your status, your title, so whatever that would mean to you across the board on a worldly, globally stage when it comes to global leaders, because politics is super highlighted this week. This is going to be very much in the spotlight because we have that Saturn conjunction. We have a Mars and Saturn conjunction, which are both malefic planets involved, and their conjunction energy. So that's kind of to blow the lid off the pressure cooker. So not only is it, the power, control, maybe authority figures trying to put the squeeze on the general public, but all of a sudden the lid blows off and the general public squeezes and pushes back. So this very much can look like the state versus the people versus the government. And she's going to be like the gloves are off and you kind of meet in the middle and it's time to rock and roll, right? Like I said, it's explosive. It can be very explosive, but we have that sovereignty energy. So it's a great pushback where it's going to be unexpected things can happen and surface. This is also what you're known for out in the world. So your job status, title, whatever that is to you. So that could be anywhere from a government bureaucratic leader to like a teacher, a lawyer, a doctor, anything that's very highlighted in, what you're known for, your place out in the world. This also hovers around structures, strategy, high discipline, responsibility, and accountability. Now, this is where this is probably going to run a lot of people on a global level or in a more known territory into a lot of trouble. It's like, something's going to creep up. They were trying to hide or hoping they wouldn't be caught at or to have. They're going to be forced to be accountable and responsible for their actions or their words. Okay, and again, this is to do with your public reputation. And anytime we have Saturn involved with that conjunction, this tends to be a long-term anything or something. So something you can be working on long-term, or it's something that's been going on long-term, and all of a sudden something gets surfaced and everything goes right sideways. The tables turn 180 degrees. And physical time is going to be of the essence. So we also have the 9th house very lit up. So this is our good luck or good fortune house. And this can also hover around legal and law matters, okay? So this is also about finding solutions, and this can include universal law as well. International connections and international cultures. Teaching, learning, expanding your horizons or expanded horizons. And this can include long-distance travel, adventure. And again, this is where the writing publishing shows up. The other one was writing editing, but this is writing publishing. So that's very highlighted this week. So that can be a very, very focal point for a lot of people. This is about church, religion, spirituality. This can include ethics. And we know we will see that on the global stage with politics and leadership roles. So we're going to see that in a very, very highlighted spotlight. This can include the in-laws, philosophy, and again, international travel, communications, and cultures. And this is also where the truths can arise. So now that we have a 9th house showing up, that is, legal law, but this is also about the truths. But also, so is that Uranus at 29 degrees. That can blow the lid off in truth, where all of a sudden a truth comes out and somebody's career is eliminated, or somebody's job, they've just lost their tower. They've just been stripped of their job, their title, or whatever they represent. It's here today, gone tomorrow. This can also include foreign affairs and human resources. And again, this is the good luck, good fortune house. So again, on that rarer side, we can see quite there is a lot to be gained and a lot to accomplish, and really a lot of things can go very, very right. But it's such a wishy-washy, unstable week. You just don't know what direction on each day what's going to go down. This is also the house of children. Oh, sorry, the house of number 5 is included. This house number 5 is about children, grandchildren. This is about having fun, finding pleasure, finding joy, and about creative expression. So creative expression can be anything, and often that can include that writing, publishing, which I just talked about. But creative expression can be anything. That can be artistry, it can be painting, it can be someone who does home renovations in the beauty, the aesthetics world. So, a makeup artist, anything, people who quilt or sew. Creative expression can be done in many, many ways, but it's very highlighted this week. And again, hobbies, creative projects, and again, about your talents. This is about hidden talents showing up as well. And that leadership role keeps on showing up over and over and over. So you might be seeing on a more public or global stage, so that's possible. Or the focus can be on the leadership or leadership roles, which we currently have. It's a very volatile time right now, and when things transform, what things we see today are not how they're going to be in a month from now. Okay, and this is about sports, okay, romance, falling in love, and sex. And this, again, is a good luck house. It's a bucket list house, and it's also the house of speculation. Okay, so those are kind of the areas. There's a lot of areas that it covers because we have quite a few conjunctions with quite a few different planets involved, so it covers a lot of territory. But guaranteed, it will make sense and it will fit in a certain way for you. Okay, so we are going to jump into the health and anatomy. So the one thing I do want to talk about is electricity, power. So that's going to be very highlighted, and again, that's linked with Uranus. Okay, so someplace you want to be careful about the ankles, twisting an ankle, breaking an ankle, that Achilles heel, you want to be careful with that. That can go either, that can be complications or, maybe hurt, breaking an ankle or something, but it's very oriented in there. So very highlighted. And something you want to be very, very careful around electricity, electrocution. You want to be very careful around electricity with water or even hydroelectricity. That's very, very highlighted here. Okay. And again, this is the higher nervous system, okay? The body electricity. And something else I want to point out with because Uranus is going to be governing this whole week, like it's just chaotic and it's all over the place. But this can also link up with the higher than the 5 senses. So this is about the flashes of insight. This is where all the clairaudience, the clairvoyance, that can be involved here as well. So it's the connection to the universe, the connection to the cosmos, the connection to your higher power, your higher God, whoever that is to you. That can be very amplified. And also dream state. So if you do dream, jot down your dreams, remember it, because it will have meaning over time. Okay, so this can include, again, the nervous system. So now we have the nervous system and the higher nervous system involved. So again, stress, anxiety, keep that at bay. Worry, the runaway mind, overthinking things to the core. So we want to keep that at bay and keep that under control. Stop doing it if you can. So the nervous system, the brain, the sight, so that would be the eyes, the mouth, the tongue, the respiratory system, including the lungs, hands, arms, thyroid gland, and this is all to do with the mind, right? And the elbows. Okay, and so we do have an active Venus as well. And so this can include the throat, the chin, the cheeks, your sense of taste, your kidneys, kidney function, ovaries. That will include the hormones, both. So this can be the hormones in the male or female, internal reproductive organs, blood circulation, and this can be sensory organs of the skin. And again, this can be very skin oriented as well. So the quality of skin eruption, skin breakouts, psoriasis, eczema, maybe just a better skin quality that you're looking for, or a better skin routine, looking after or taking better care of your skin, those kind of things. This also includes the muscular system, which I touch base because that's partially part of the first house. So muscular system, so you might be, pumping iron, you might be building bigger, better muscles, getting leaned out. Anything to do with the muscles in anywhere, any place of the body, muscular system involved. So you might be doing therapy to build up muscle, build more muscle, bring something back into better shape, or just building a better overall, better muscular physique. So that's possible. External reproductive organs, again, the head and face is very highlighted here, and also the red blood. So when I say red blood, that can be blood testing. And again, this is a good time for that if you're going to get any blood test done or any sort of test done, because we are all planets direct, which really helps. Because when we have, retrograde Mercury, those kind of things, or Venus retrograde, that really throws a wrench into testing machine or testing equipment where it's not functioning properly. So you can get faulty readings or things mixed up, or files mixed up, or information mixed up, or the machines are sending out false results, those kind of things. So we are in a very good time zone for testing. This will include the bladder areas, and also the adrenal glands. Okay, so this also will cover the bones and the skeletal system. So any bone in the body, the skin, again, the skin very, very highlighted this week. Again, any bone in the body, so that can be legs, that can be arms. This includes the teeth, ligaments, knees, your ears, auditory organs, gallbladder, parathyroid gland, body protein, and this can include tendons, okay? So that will be for some people out there. So you might be having bone surgery, you might have broke a bone, you might be healing, those kind of things can show up. This can be about the eliminative and reproductive systems, or the elimination areas of the body. So, that would be your colon, your rectum, anything like that. Reproductive systems, the pituitary gland, and this is where it can cover abnormal growths. Okay, so that's warts, tumors, moles, birthmarks, skin tags, and this can be the area of cancer, the disease of cancer, anywhere in the body, anywhere in the anatomy, okay? Okay, so that's where that covers the area of cancer. So this can include the heart, upper back, spleen. This is on a lesser note, but I still want to, it's kind of like the honorary mention, circulatory system, the eyes again. And this can be really looking at your general health and your general vitality. The other thing is, again, so super highlighted, is the head, the face, the brain, and the upper teeth. And so when I talk about teeth, upper teeth, that can be bottom and lower teeth. So you might be having trouble with your teeth, getting teeth work done. That can include dentures, upper or lower, okay? And this can also include your ears, your vocal cords, your thyroid gland, your tongue, your mouth, your tonsils, and again, the teeth. So teeth are very, very much in focus. So that pretty much covers, well, a lot of the body and anatomy, but I want to include everything, because when we have such high aspected major aspects of conjunctions and squares, it's worth a mention, because there's going to be a lot of territory covered. What you think is going to happen this week's not going to happen. It's going to be a rewrite, a redo of all the plans, and what you thought you're going to be dealing with probably is not going to happen. It's going to be something else. And something else I do want to mention with the Pluto square, this can have to do with mining, okay? Digging or exploring deep down into the earth. Anytime we have a Pluto, something going on with that Pluto, that can include mining for anything. So whether that's oil, whether it's gold, whether it's any sort of precious metal, or metal of any kind, so copper, anything to do with mining into the ground, drilling into the ground, mining, drilling, any way, shape, or form with anything. So when we see this, that can often, because it's a Pluto square, there can be problems with maybe mining permits or the cost of mining, and that can also include the investment area or the cost of things, say for, drilling for gas and oil, well, all of a sudden that increases the gas pump price or the oil price, right? So depending on how you look at and what you're doing, that can have an impact in that area as well. Okay, so with that being said, I think that will wrap up our reading for this week. So I just want to mention the high impact days are April 20th, April 23rd, April 24th, April 25th, and April 26th. Okay, so Yeah, it's a very, very busy week. So, sit light in the saddle because plans are going to change and there's just going to be some very erratic, out of the blue energy showing up. And so, hopefully, a lot of you will be blessed with some really good, fortunate, out of the blue things. And so, again, it's expect the unexpected and do expect unexpected people to show up in your life. I just had that feeling, and I do want to mention that. Not in a million years did I ever think I was going to see that person again, or that person was going to cross my path, or all of a sudden, 20, 30 years later, somebody shows up. It's very unexpected, right? I just want to throw that out there. Okay, and so I think that will close off our reading for right now. And again, it's chaotic, it's all over the place. So, like I said, do sit light in the saddle, be flexible, be adaptable, be patient, and just be willing to roll with the flow, because what's going to happen is going to happen. So we can either take it in good stride or you can fight the system. But fighting the system usually ends in great frustration, and it's very, very stressful. Okay, so that will close off today. So until we talk again, stay happy, stay healthy, take care of yourself, and take care of each other. Bye for now.